Boomkin's buffed without closing the class Discord. Upcoming class tuning posted about 3 hours ago by Squishy. I was Kian, talked about this a little bit on stream, but I wanted to make a dedicated YouTube video talking about what we are going to be seeing with class tuning, how this is going to affect Mythic Plus, and kind of what's going on with just the PvE land in general. So as you can kind of guess, we haven't really had class tuning for a while. There have been some specializations that people have predicted are going to get either buffed or nerfed based on their general performance, not only in Raid, but also in Mythic Plus. And we're going to take some time to talk today about where specializations are going to be landing and what's being present with class tuning. So let's talk about what we've seen so far with class tuning. So Blood Decay getting a little bit of a damage nerf and an EHP increase by the Bone Shield armor. Grass has said, I think that this is very slight survivability gain. Let me see. The Bone Shield change is worth plus 3% physical EHP for Blood Decay for what it's worth. So a very slight survivability gain. This specialization is one that, so there's like 4 specializations that are really good in Mythic Plus. It is Brewmaster Monk, it is Protection Paladin, it is Vengeance Demon Hunter, and Warrior, Protection Warrior. Blood Decay is not very good in Mythic Plus, and them buffed, but it is quite good in Raid because it's, Grip is useful on Dimensius. That's probably the only reason that's necessarily good in Raid, but that's the reason that's necessarily good in Raid. Their damage in Raid and Mythic Plus also pretty lacking. The fact that it's getting buffed is totally fine. Makes sense. Balanced Druid, all damage increased by 5%. Ornaments of the Mother Eagle, which is the tier set that's attached to Elun's Chosen. Starfire damage increased by 20%, was previously 15. And then Elun's Chosen AoE damage nerfs, which end up equating to, I was running some math on this, about a 1.5% damage increase in Mythic Plus and a 4.7% damage increase for Raid and other PvE related content, so Delves or whatever. But Raid, 4.7% damage increase for Raid. Considering the fact that balance was terrible in Raid, this is kind of to be expected. 1.5% in Mythic Plus, not bad considering the spec is okay, and it brings Mark of the Wild. Still has, I think that there are major concerns. I don't think this actually makes it any better in Raid. The problems with it in Raid are basically still the same, even though it's going to be 4.7% stronger. You can't AoE, you can't target swap. You have the worst survivability in the game, and you get completely shut on by bosses. So I don't think this really solves that. But damage-wise, it should at least, in theory, get it closer to this large chunk of DPS. Occupy, all the way from Frost Mage up to Elemental Shaman and Frost Decay. So, other specializations. We got Augmentation, Evoker, Scale Commander, Bombardment damage increased by 25%. This is kind of an interesting change. So this is only basically targeting Augmentation in Mythic Plus. Augmentation was played in Raid and the Race World First, pretty consistent amount, but they played Chrono Warded. Now, Scale Commander was decent on the PTR, and then Blizzard changed how summoned mobs worked with a lot of tier sets, making Augmentation and Scale Commander's Dragons be just completely useless. Them increasing their bombardment damage by 25%. While fine, I don't think it's a large source of their damage. I know for a while the Pyres that came from the Augmentation Scale Commander set was a large piece of their damage. I suspect that Augmentation is probably going to still be in similar position in Mythic Plus, probably not that much better. Deep Breath damage increased by 20%, does not affect PvP. Command Squadron, Scale Commander 2-piece, Disintegrate damage increased by 10%. This is not played at all. You're basically always playing Flame Shaper and everything. Deep Breath damage increased by 20%. Probably not much of a tangible gain for Devastation. Evoker, Deep Breath damage increased by 20%. All right, slightly irrelevant. Beast Mastery Hunter, all damage increased by 4%. Death Blow updated, kill commands, chance to grant your Death Blow to Beast Mastery Hunter increased by 20%, and then they changed some stuff with Dark Ranger, even though most of the time they're playing Pack Leader. So let's take a look at Yargi. So this spec is just getting a flat 4% buff, and this is a specialization that is god awful in Raid. Like absolutely terrible in Raid, which is why I think that they went for a 4% aura buff. But this specialization in Mythic Plus is quite good. And so a 4% aura buff on a specialization that I've seen some meters where some Beast Mastery Hunters and High Keys are doing 20% more damage than other specializations. Yargi was saying that he thinks that it's 4 dungeons marks, 4 dungeons Beast Mastery from what he's been playing. He thinks that Beast Mastery is quite good. So this is going to be a way better for Beast Mastery. Could end up propelling them to be in the meta. Kind of a little bit early to see. I think that a lot of meta speculation is based around the fact that Protection Warrior looks really good, so Battle Shout looks very valuable. Blizzard did just recently hotfix buff Fury Warrior and Slayer Fury to be one of the better specializations in the game. And so a lot of the battle shout wielders, both protection and fury, are quite good. And so a lot of people are trending towards these physical damage compositions, which Hunter looked like it was good damage, but very bad utility. So it was going to be edged out. But maybe with another 4% on Beast Mastery Hunter, it could be the season where the Beast Mastery Hunter, Beast Mastery, Heavy Demon Hunter, Protection Warrior, and Restoration Shaman's good. Maybe Brewmaster Monk, Beast Mastery Hunter, Havoc Demon Hunter, Resto Shaman, something along those lines with like a Feral Druid or something like that as the 5th. Some Fizz variants seem like they're going to be quite good, but there's obviously still other things, and we're going to talk about this in a second, that are still quite good. Other specializations that got changed. Mistweaver, I'm going to be completely honest, I don't really know what this means. I know what Master of Harmony is, but I don't really know what the issue with the Ancient Teachings is. I don't really know how much of a gain or loss it is. Mistweaver is pretty underplayed for both Raid and Mythic Plus. It's actually fine in Raid. I'd say it's like okay in Mythic Plus. Mistweaver kind of toes the line of always being pretty average in Mythic Plus, just generally speaking. I suspect it's probably still a similar state. Holy and Disc. Priest, I would say, as a class, has been terrible this patch. Shadow and Raid, not great. Even though you'll look at statistics and you'll see Shadow is like kind of in the middle. Shadow is really not that good in Raid. We went to Fractalus, for example. We were currently sitting on all bosses. Went to Fractalus, so Shadow Priest is just terrible. And so I think that all priests in Raid are it's like a bring one. In Mythic Plus, Disc is, Sin was telling me that Disc is getting heal checked in Mythic Plus on some of the higher end content. He doesn't really think that it really has much of a place in the meta, even though he originally thought it was like the 3rd best healer. Seems like Priest gonna kind of stay in a similar state where they are buffing Holy a little bit. Obviously, healing increased by 12% for Holy Priest is kind of a crazy number. But then, maybe Holy ends up occupying a place more so in the metagame for Mythic Plus. I suspect that it's not, because a lot of people were not looking to play it. I think this is more targeted towards Raid. This is going to kind of make them a little bit more compelling. And Discipline in Raid got just the hell buffed out of Atonement. And then Blizzard goes Lamau. We're going to try to even this out a little bit in terms of Atonement healing for Mythic Plus. So they don't want them to be too strong in terms of their output for 5-mans. I do still think this is a overall net buff on the healing department for Mythic Plus and for Raid. So this is good because Disc Priest, dude, I mean, you want to talk about something that very generationally bad. It's like damage, healing from healers. Holy shit, Disc Priest looks like it just does no HPS in Raid, so I'm not shocked in terms of increased Atonement conversion. So that's all the tuning that we have. First gut reaction was, I'm surprised that we didn't get more. I kind of came into this patch, or into this week, assuming that we were going to get nerfs to a lot of the damage dealers, particularly ranged DPS and Raid. Things like, I kind of expected them to even out Marksmanship Hunter's variants from top to bottom, because Dark Ranger Marks can have some really high highs, but some pretty middling lows. I mean, if you go to the, look at, you just see how large the variance is from Marks. I was suspecting that they were going to try to even that out a little bit. I wouldn't have been shocked with like a Destro Warlock nerf, an Arcane Mage nerf, even like an Elite Shaman nerf. Wouldn't have been shocked with any of those getting nerfed. Blizzard went ahead and goes, all right, we're only going to be buffing the underperformers. We're not really going to be nerfing any of the overperformers. It's fine. I think that Mythic Plus is actually kind of in an interesting state where there are multiple compositions that can really realistically be played. And if we go over to the Wowhead Mythic Plus tier list that I maintain, I updated this today prior to the class tuning happening, just to try to prepare myself for this video. So this spec got buffed, right? So we'll put a plus here. Hold on. Put a plus here. This spec got buffed. What else? Holy Disc. So from the DPS, okay, so AUG maybe a little bit. Dev. Put AUG and Dev. So AUG got a plus, and Dev, wherever Dev is, got a plus. So these specializations all got buffed. These two are like pretty minor. So, like I said, this is Balance Druid's like 1.5%, which is not bad. It's like, because Balance Druid's already pretty decent. This is the one that I think is going to maybe be the most impactful, where this might end up buffing Beast Mastery Hunter all the way up into A tier after the 4% buff. Mostly due to the fact that, they're getting 4% stronger, but a specialization that was already really good. Now, again, they don't really have much utility, but as it's been proven time and time again, the only thing that matters is damage. I think that in terms of like Fizz DPS, this is a season where there is a lot of room for more Fizz DPS. Now, for the current state of like the meta, it's kind of interesting. So we have like a range composition that can kind of form, whether it be like Arcane Mage plus Destruction Warlock, and then you play like a miscellaneous third, like maybe one of these 3 specializations kind of here. If you're looking to play a wizard composition that's based around Arcane Mage and Destruction Warlock, a lot of the teams, though, I think are going to be looking to play around this Havoc Demon Hunter and a bunch of Fizz DPS. I think the Subtlety Rogue is very good. Frost Decay, it's nice. I think that Frost is slightly overrated. This specialization right here, this Fury Warrior specialization, now with the changes to Slayer and the random hotfix buffs, I think that spec is also incredible. So we're kind of seeing a meta start to form. I think it's going to start to form around the physical DPS. I think that makes the most sense. The class tuning, relatively low impact. The only thing that actually is going to end up impacting anything Mythic Plus related, I think is going to be these Beast Mastery Hunter changes. So I'm interested in hearing your thoughts down in the comment section, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.